council another perspective from this when I looked and evaluated this position. I look at an community and economic development director as someone who in theory will be able to pay for themselves because of all the new businesses and new construction that will be brought in. And Mr. Blum will sort of be able to address how much we would need to cover such a position such as this. We are predominantly a residential community. We do not have much, we have hardly any industrial, and that's where your big tax dollars come in. We have a couple vibrant commercial districts. There hasn't been any new construction. We are hoping to get some turnover. However, we have impediments to business development due to our zoning ordinances, and there are several provisions that need to be adjusted before we can actually be more encouraging of new businesses coming into the community. So I think focus for this fiscal year should be more on having the Planning Commission make changes to our zoning ordinance. And I'll give you a concrete example. On Gratiot, our list of permitted uses is like this, okay? And we have parking restrictions. And if you took the parking restrictions with the permitted uses go like this. So we have a disconnect. We're saying you're welcome, but we can't put you here because you don't have parking. Another example would be a requirement to construct walls behind buildings upon change of ownership or tenancy. And this is an issue that has come up twice in the last week. These are disincentives to development. We could have the best salesperson here, but when they start looking under the hood and making application, we will be now, but at the present time we can't even get a good business license process through because we didn't have the fire marshal. We're going to get that process resolved. We need to clean up our internal processes first before we put the salesman out there. That's my thoughts from this. And if Mr. Blum could maybe even talk as to how much in new development in terms of increased taxable value you need to, let's say, bring in $100,000 in new taxes.
Actually, I was just doing a quick calc. The amount that would actually impact general fund is only about 33 mils between general operating and Samorsa. So you actually need $3 million of net increase in taxable value to generate $99,000. So the 100,000. So it's about $3 million in new taxable value to pay for this $100,000.
And we know that we are, in our residential areas, we can't even give away lots to some of our residents because the market doesn't support building new houses for a developer to come in. We're just not at that point yet. We're getting there, but we're not there yet.
We have some areas that need to be redeveloped, and no one is working on them. You can't help but look at 8 Mile and Gratiot and know that something has got to be done about that.
Fully agreed, but I think we
have a lot of other properties, and I think you can change the impediments within the Planning Commission at the same time, and I really feel that an economic development director would know how to do that and what codes need to be changed. That was one of the reasons why I thought you would be a good fit, is because you had done a lot of really good work in Pontiac. We don't have all that space that they did in Pontiac, but for the most part that was completely redevelopment. But we need somebody to get out there and meet with these businesses, because I hate it when somebody calls me and says, I'm not getting anywhere with anybody, and I'm waiting 6 months to have a fire inspection, and I'm waiting 5 months to get anybody over to there to see me, and then at the very last minute, the building department comes in and says, oh, you can't put those garage doors there. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't do those. And these things have already been ordered. We need somebody as an interim between the building department, the fire department, police department, and the person that's trying to establish a new building.
I agree with that, because we're not going to get the reconstruction that's going to pay for the position. I'm more concerned about just having someone who can get we have so many empty retail spaces. I mean, the big boy at 9 and Gratiot, for example, if you had an economic developer who was trying to help that person sell the business or get someone in there, and making it easy rather than have it sit for 5 years and then it's just going to be an uphill battle.
Right. And I'm not against the concept of bringing in someone, but I'm looking from the long-term financial standpoint. From a financial standpoint, it's not, I can't see it happening at this point in time. In terms of what we need to do, needs to be done mechanically internally to make us a little bit more developer-friendly. However, if council wishes, I'm not objecting to it. I'm just giving you my financial opinion as to the sustainability for this position. But I'm not objecting to the concept. I like the concept. I like the idea. I think it is necessary. But I also have to put my other hat on and say, from a financial standpoint, I'm not sure if this could be financially sustainable if the general fund pays 100% of those costs.
So what I was gonna ask, excuse me, so what I was gonna ask is, Harper Woods has a part-time economic developer, and he's awesome. Can we do something part-time?
There's possibility that we could enter into, for lack of a better term, mutual aid with other communities, share positions. There may be communities that have a full-timer right now where they can't quite justify the payment, and maybe we can share with them. There's various ways of funding and paying for this and sharing services if we, but I don't know how much time council wants to dedicate to this. If you want a full-time person, then the sharing concept goes out the window. If you want a part-time person, then we can get creative. You just give me direction and I'll go there.
I have a question. So if we did hire, even a part-time economic developer, do you think that they would be able to devote some time to our tax reversion properties?
Because Steve Horseman did a lot of that when we went through the horrible.
I can tell you that a city that I know of near us that has a successful tax reversion process has 1.5 staff people dedicated to that. I've already investigated that.
So I'm wondering if hiring, an economic developer, because of the fact that it might help assist us, because it's really hard when we're taking Mary away from her job all the time, or Randy, and, you know, if we had someone coordinating it, and that being like one of their main focuses when it comes to moving forward with their tax reversion properties.
And also, Steve also was partly paid, I think 50% of his pay came out of the DDA.
It was split, DDA.
Right, and then he also did all the PR besides working with building. And he attracted quite a bit of business. When we first started with the redevelopment ready, they wanted 5 properties. We had those 5 properties redeveloped in a short time, and 5 more right after that. So I think it pays off in the long run. Besides that, it's the communication between the city council and the administration and the outside world within our city and our local area. I think it's a key role.
I'm not disagreeing, Mayor. I do believe it is a
We have the
valuable
money,
position.
And I think we have the money for that role, and if you try it for a year and it doesn't add anything, then get rid of it.
And couldn't the salesperson send some of the ZBA right now from masonry wall or parking? You could get a,
Yes, there are variances that can be granted,
at
but
least for now.
exactly,
So we,
clean it up.
yeah.
No, there's ways around it, but we sort of have to guide the developers as to which path they need to go to. I don't think that's being done.
Right, I
Ye-
don't disagree it's bureaucratic, but that's what we could do right now.
Yes, and to be honest, these are items that I've just become more aware of over the past week or the past month. I haven't had the time to really get into the zoning ordinance because of other things that have come up. But from my community development standpoint and economic development standpoint, we are redevelopment ready on paper. We just have to get redevelopment ready in practice based on some of our procedures and our codes. And I think we can get there.
It could all be done at the same time. You just bring in that economic development director.
We bring in that
you
person and
tell
charge
what
him with
needs to be
that,
done,
and he
he'll
starts
do it.
proposing or drafting ordinances and presenting them to the planning commission. It could be done.
So I
Now, I had that position, it was the same cost as the personnel director in my budget that I removed. So that was the 116 figure on page 12. So if you're looking for a full-timer, I can plug that back in.
What about the part-time? You don't have a suggested price for
Yeah,
that?
Steve Horseman was part-time with no benefits, right?
No, he was actually full-time, which is why he was split between he was part-time DDA, but he was a full-time employee, and he did have benefits.
I think with us throwing the tax reversion, we should go full-time, and then if we need to reassess it next year, we can. But, I mean, we have a tax reversion, I really wanna move forward on it, like, we're not making any progress.
I think somebody that comes from Michigan State and their planning program, because I think 4 DDA directors, economic development directors that we had in a row, all came from Michigan State from that special program they have up there in planning and economic development.
I guess the part-time just makes sense, because I've seen what that part-time guy has done in Harper Woods. They got 3 or 4
Now,
different.
is that an employee or is that a consultant? Because communities do have economic development consultants as well.
To that too?
Pardon?
Can you look into that, a consultant too, just the price-wise? Because pay 115,000. for
Actually, I
economic
think
developer.
of our,
115,000?
116 is what I threw in the budget, total
How
cost.
much is that fire chief?
It was a little bit higher
higher than that.
because they have a different benefit structure.
I would like to add the tax reversion to his responsibility, and then
I
also,
agree.
and also working with the building department, with the building director, with many of the problems that they have, and then also with just the development or redevelopment.
I think that, yeah, that definitely would all have to be in the job description, for sure.
And we stayed with the 8 Mile Boulevard. So that's a really big thing on 8 Mile Road.
No, you
No,
guys.
we didn't stay.
We eliminated 8 Mile.
Right now.
So without 8 Mile Boulevard, the redevelopment of 8 Mile Road is critical right now.
So why would we?
Council wishes to put it in.
Reverse in that. No.
If there's no objection, I will add it back into the budget document. You don't need to
8 Mile
take a vote,
Association?
no, not the 8 Mile, but the, because you voted on that, but the Economic Development Director. I'll add in that $116,000.
And then add some responsibility underneath it.
I'll make it a motion. I'll move to authorize funding in that department for a dedicated economic developer, or director.
I'll support.
Economic development director, sorry.
We have support?
I think I just heard you support it, Mayor.
I know, but I was told I shouldn't support things.
You're a member of council, you can make a motion and you can support unless the charter prohibits.
I know, but I'd rather not do that. So we have support from,
That's a couple of motions you did tonight.
Yes. Mayor made a motion today for the first time.
I just won, I only won when I got really mad. All right.
I'll support that, Joseph.
Thank
Please
you.
call
You
the
didn't
roll.
already. I wasn't sure after that whole conversation.
So Mayor, do you want to keep your support or not, or should I give it to
No,
Councilman
I
DeMonico?
already have support.
Okay, good.
Let's move on to the
All right, Cardi, you lost
library.
your support.
So we have Council Member Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Pixley,
Yes.
DeMonico,
Yes.
Lucido,
Yes.
Owens.
Excuse me.
Can we move on to the library? I know that most of it is, I would really like to donate or transfer $1,800, is that what she said? To the library for the purchase of that big game, because the library is trying to do more and more and more with families. And I think that's our orientation. So I hate to see them struggling for 7 or 8 months to find something that's $4,000.
And I think they have the money. I think the Friends are trying to get that money.
I know, but they're only like $1,500, and they don't want to go after their fund that they have until they get to 4,000. So I've gotten a lot of donations from service organizations that I belong to, and suggested this is something that's beneficial to kids and everything.
I guess my
Would council
question
want
is-
to do that this fiscal year rather than do it for next fiscal year? We have the money this fiscal year?
My question is can we donate that money to the Friends of the Library?
No.
We donate it to the library.
It's transferred to the library fund, and then the library board would authorize the expense.
Well, let's put it on the motion for the 8th.
Okay, for this fiscal year.
Yeah, for this fiscal year.
Okay.
Good.
Is that something that the DDA could participate in since the library's in the DDA?
Yes,
The library's
Maybe.
not in the DDA.
Yeah, it is.
maybe. We have to look at the plan.
Yeah.
We do have I thought the library was not in the
No,
DDA,
it's in the DDA.
is it?
Yeah. That's
I know
why
the
they
library
participate in some of the stuff.
parking lot is.
I'm pretty sure library proper is in the DDA.
All right, well then, let's go.
That,
to-
I mean, you have a special meeting coming up in,
the
May
14th.
15th or 14th, yeah?
And we do have money.
Yes.
It's a good idea.
I mean, you could do 1,000 from the
I
city,
like that
200 from
idea.
DDA.
Good idea.
We just have to make sure it's
occasionally have
permissible.
those.
All right, where do you want to go next?
Special
'Cause
events.
We have an attorney coming at 9:30, so we don't want to make him late.
Anyone have any problems with what the engineering firm and Mr. Abraham presented in terms of the plans for the utility billing system, water and sewer system, the streets?
I don't.
You know, Mr. Abraham and I talked back and forth, because I have the TIP plan that we're approving tomorrow, and it doesn't have those things in it that he said had got agreement to. So
He's indicating it's on some sort of July agenda?
that would be the General Assembly meeting, but, I don't
Because
know.
I know he's been in contact with SEMCOG.
Well, I'll ask, I'm down there tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, I think, so are we gonna, because we just got it yesterday, talk about the water and sewer rate study? Well, I also didn't see an spreadsheet in our email.
Okay, I'll have
Or
to
any
find out from Mr.
information.
Seidel.
I think we'll need to follow up on that because,
Well, let me ask this question, because remember, rates are dependent on expenses. So based on the proposed budget for water and sewer, are there any issues with the proposed expenses?
well, I think the one thing that came to my mind when we got that presentation was the, well, I'll just pull it up so I'm not making up terms here. The working capital fund part.
Yes.
I mean, so we're just essentially building up to that 27% in 5 years.
Correct.
If we split it across 10 or something, we wouldn't have to increase the
That's-
water rate, right?
Ill-advisable.
Yeah, in my opinion, I would rather follow this plan, only because I would like to have money there if we need to do any major sewer line replacements.
What-
Because
yeah.
infrastructure and we're already building it up slow, and I have a feeling it's not gonna actually stick to this anyways, because I feel like there will be something that comes up where we're gonna take money out of it, and so it's gonna probably take us 10 years to get to that. I mean, that's just my,
Well, I mean, so 25 to 30, it seems surprising to me since we just do 10%. I mean, our fiscal management plans, well, it's like 16% altogether for the 3 different types of reserves for the regular general fund of the city, but yet the water sewer fund should have 25 or 30%? That's-
Because when you have a problem in the water and the sewer fund, it's not because you have a staff member who gets sick, it's because you have a major failure of a water or sewer pipe, and those are not cheap to fix. And if you don't have cash in the bank, you're doing one of two things. You're borrowing money from another fund, meaning most likely general fund, meaning you're going to lose interest and revenue for the general fund, or you're taking out a loan, and that's incurring debt and increasing the costs. So that is why for capital-intensive funds such as this, the GFOA recommends in that 25 to 30%. Just think about if the city general fund had $4 million a couple years ago and that was properly invested, how much lost revenue was that to the city's general fund? What could that have paid for? And if we don't build up that working capital fund, there's always that danger of that one big thing happening, and you're right back to going to the general fund, losing money there, or taking out some sort of a debt. And I believe the council's position is we do not want to use debt to fund capital projects in our water and sewer fund.
How much?
I am just gonna warn you, if you don't replace those 26-inch water mains along Gratiot, you're gonna be using all of that, and that's lost water besides, so at some point in time, you better do those.
And I do believe that residents appreciate a more stable increase than 10% up, then maybe 0, and then a 25%
But
increase.
some of that was GLWA, that wasn't us, that was a pass-through.
like I said, I'm fine with approving the water and sewer budget.
So
How
if,
much
if there's
for-
no problems with expenses, then the question comes to what is the rate that council wants? The recommended rate from
What was the,
AEW was that
One point-
slight
It
increase.
ends up being
1.5 was AEW, and you had 1.6, correct?
is that water and sewer?
There's water and sewer combined, 1.5%.
And you requested 1.6 in the budget?
What did,
No, actually, revenue is 0. There was no increase because we were waiting for the water rate study. So
then
the
I would-
expenses are fine, but the revenue needs to be increased
I would propose a 1.5% water increase.
to match.
To match
This,
the
yes.
rates that, I would,
Yes.
is that a motion?
Yes.
I support.
Okay, we have a motion by Lucido, support by
Please call the roll.
Kleinfeld to adopt the AEW rate.
Oh, we got one more
Question?
discussion items.
Well, just one more question. How much roughly was this per year then for the, because I don't think I understand this yet. For the working capital part, how much of this is building that over the next 5 years?
Well, if you look at page 3, we're actually going to go down in working capital next fiscal year from where we believe we're going to finish off this fiscal year. And then we're going to start building that back up with a rate that has yet to be set 2 fiscal years from now.
Right, I understood like all the 3 million thing and the fiscal year change, but
You're asking how much
If-
the 1.5 will bring in this year.
say.
It doesn't bring in
No,
enough.
No, not just that. So say we kept the the balance in this account at the, say, the 3 million.
We would need a higher rate.
Well,
The rates that are proposed, if you go to page 6, you can see that it actually generates a $96,000 deficit for the next fiscal year. So you would need, as Mr. Spoda just said, a higher rate for fiscal year 20 to keep that at 3 million.
So like this year, we'll
Which
still be
row?
negative at the end of the year.
With the 1.5,
We're
right?
at the 1.5.
right, because I mean, like I was saying yesterday, we were at negative 4 million, you know, a couple years, or last year, the year before, whatever it was. Obviously, I don't want to be there, but I'm just saying, so then after 5 years, I guess my long-term question is, after the 5 years, once you get to the 27%, then what are we looking at?
You're just funding whatever your expenses are.
Right, wouldn't your, I mean, so the rate go down? It would
If you're-
have
if-
to go down.
maybe.
Or else you're gonna keep growing the,
Maybe. It depends what your expenses will be in that 5th year. Maybe that's the year we do Gratiot, for example.
okay, well, I guess I mean,
Good luck.
I'll vote no right now, but I'd like to still see the Excel sheet before I made a decision, for sure.
And this is only for the rate for 1 year. It's not like we're adopting it for future years.
And we're just voting to put it into the budget. We'll approve
Yeah.
the budget later.
This will be part of the ordinance anyway, so.
So we have a motion.
We have a motion and support. Councilmember Lucido? Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Owens?
No.
Pixley?
Yes.
DeMonico?
No.
Motor pool?
Chapter 20, I'll just clue you in. So, you know, Candace is planning to expand the Chappaton, to widen the channel that's down there, extend it out to the lake, and to put gates, big gates in the 8.5 mile and 9.5 mile. And the bill on that, they were getting bids this last week, but the bill is probably about $32 million. It might be $35 million, so that's chapter 20. And so far, she's got $3 million that's coming in from the state, and she's hoping to get federal money from that. Otherwise, it's by apportionment, and I think Eastpointe's apportion is, what, 45%?
It's currently 54. If they do the flow study, the previous reapportionment that was not adopted, we actually went up to 62%. But we're currently 54.
We're currently at 54.
Right.
So, but the good side of that is we have fought since 2012 not to be part of the Martin Road drain, and you have to thank Mr. Kleinfeld over there, who's talking to his mother, and we've been to a number of meetings. And we've talked to a number of people, and we finally got our responsibility for the Martin Road drain off our books, so we're no longer going to be responsible for that. Luckily, because they just discussed a Martin Road drain project, which was $132 million, and they're not gonna do that, but they're gonna do a large portion of it. So we do have reserves in the sanitary district, and as of now, I'm screaming and yelling that we need to take the money that's in the reserves before we bill the cities. So I think we're going there, and Candace also wants MDOT to pick up a little bit more of the percentage for the responsibility of the drains that go under the freeways. So that's for chapter 20, drain debt, and then I saw something about rubbish. And I just wanted to tell you that the disposal authority is taking over the transfer station. And hopefully GFL is gonna be using that, so we may end up seeing a drop in your rubbish contract, although it's still got another 2 years to go on it. But they've been talking that they would like to eliminate our recycling, and they may end up coming back for that. The incinerator downtown, you probably read, has been closed. They're still allowing GFL to use it on a temporary basis, and we hope that our transfer station will then be ready. So I'm hoping that the next contract that comes forward for rubbish should be a little bit less because of the presence of the transfer station. But you never know.
Has there been any update on the MDEQ fine?
I've been pushing Kyle and Roy Rose and so forth to go up to Lansing, and I'm pushing with Hertel and Bueno, who are on the MDEQ committee of the legislature, to go and sit down and say, look, enough is enough. It's still ticking away. This is a fine that was set against the communities when the contractor we had wasn't doing any work, and even though we've got it under full compliance now, the fine keeps ticking, and we want them to stop and give us our money back. We have not put any money into it, but the fine is well over $2 million.
We're all up to date with the remediations
Yeah,
that they've asked for,
yeah.
right? So,
Yeah, it's just that the MDEQ was reduced staff-wise,
oh,
so they don't have the time to send a geologist out. So we're just gonna go up there. The Attorney General, that's part of the MDEQ fine, sits with the MDEQ, and she's getting ready to retire, so I wanna go up there before she retires, and also the man that was the initiative geologist working on it. So I think we can get them, because we're in compliance now, we've done everything, and we're just operations and maintenance of all of our landfills. Except they found some methane on one, so we just put in some methane vents. Anyway, those two things could cause great problems sometime in the future. So you might talk to your legislator and Mr. Levin and see if we can't get some money coming out of Washington. We're supposed to be bringing some money down on the Great Lakes project, and also discussion in the last couple days in Washington on infrastructure funding.
Yeah, didn't Chuck Schumer said $2 trillion with that Trump agreed to,
Trump had agreed to it.
right?
Yeah, he had agreed to it. When I was
We'll see
back
what
there in
that meant.
September, they were trying to get that money at that time. All right, what are we going to next?
Can we talk more?
If the attorney is going to be showing up in 2 minutes, I don't know if there's anything that we can really
We are
talk
gonna
about.
finish
Can we
this.
just discuss motor pool real quick?
That's fine.
My only thing is I don't want to do any leases for DPW, and I think that's in motor pool.
Yes, it is. It was actually in terms of implementation would not be until we're probably talking 6-7 months from now. And Mr. Abraham hasn't even completed his
Right.
evaluation.
I'd rather just eliminate it from the budget, in my opinion.
We should probably just motion to eliminate all lease except for what
Please.
we said earlier.
So we'll
Be clear.
entertain a motion, Mrs.
All right.
Nato.
Let me just clarify, because I heard council say earlier they were in favor of all the capital for the fire, and the capital for the fire included the leases for the 2 fire vehicles. The one with 113,000 miles, and then the truck where they actually have a sign plate in the base to prevent a person from sticking their foot through the bottom.
I do. I forgot about
think
that.
I'd rather-
Good thing you got a good
buy
memory.
those instead of leasing.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve, or to eliminate all the leases from the budget with the exception of the police department
Support.
and
And the fire? Because otherwise we have,
You're gonna have to replace those two
Well,
vehicles.
they have to be
Then we'll-
replaced.
We'll replace, can we?
You're talking the
Director,
fire
we're-
truck?
No,
Can I
we're,
ask you a question? If we replace one vehicle this year, would we be able to, the other one, would it be able to last till next year?
one's
Yeah.
got 113 and the other's got a sign plate
I'm
with a
sorry, I
hole.
didn't hear you.
I said one vehicle has 113,000 miles on it, and another one has a sign plate. They both need to go.
I was asking. Sorry, I didn't hear you,
George,
George.
wake
I
up.
didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm here.
Would one, do you think one would last till next year if we approved to purchase one this year?
They very rarely use the pickup truck. It's used to plow snow, and they use it sometimes to transport certain things at a fire scene, but can it last another year? Yes,
Okay.
but at some point it has to be replaced.
And then, the other vehicle, what kind of vehicle is it?
I believe it's a Yukon. It has 115,000 miles on it. That's a deputy chief's vehicle.
Excuse me, I put a bug in George's ear.
Mine's got 175 now. My truck. It's good.
Everybody don't have your truck.
And you don't wanna lease it?
They usually buy cars.
I don't think we should lease a truck.
What is it you have against the fire department tonight?
Yeah.
I don't think we should lease a truck they're only using to plow snow.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, I
Yeah,
think-
I mean, they're using it to plow snow in the parking lot.
We'll lease it more often than we use it.
I mean,
We'll switch that.
I
to
think,
lease the deputy police's car, that, I would be okay with that.
they don't-
But
they
the
don't
truck to
take-
plow snow,
they don't take those big engines down to Ronies to get hose fixed.
I don't know how it still has 100. Isn't that 20,000 miles a year? I can't believe we're putting 20,000 miles a year on that truck. Right, it was
How
a
many miles do you have
2013.
on your car?
about 130,000 on one and 110 on the other.
And we
Right,
weren't,
but what year?
2011 and 2014.
The pickup truck's 12 years old. It's,
Wait, I thought it was 2013.
it's I believe it's a 2007.
it is a 2007.
Yes, it's an old pickup.
Oh.
I think I'd prefer to leave it out of the lease for now, but I think Mr. Blum had some background on how we purchased those vehicles.
Yeah, the pickup truck that's used for plowing, that has always been a hand-me-down from DPW, which is why they're usually beat up when they receive them. So, and I know Mr. Abraham said that they have two extra at 10 Mile that they were going to dispose of. I don't know what shape they're in, or whether they'd be possible to transfer one of those over to fire.
My guess is if he wants to get rid of them, why do we want to give somebody else's junk to the fire department?
Because they're used to it, no.
That's not a good reason. That's not a good reason.
Oh, I know. But, you know, the other thing is, are we then gonna buy anything for DPW, which would free up a vehicle to transfer to fire? I mean, really, it's just a plow truck.
Director, we were just discussing this with the fire marshal position. Once again, the thought process was new pickup truck, fire marshal drives one. But if that's not going to happen, Director just indicated that that Dodge where we had the blown engine, actually, we will be getting a new engine. Would you like to make the announcement about that?
We are gonna get a new motor at no cost from our Dodge dealership in Roseville. So that'll have a brand-new motor in it.
And we'll just assign that for the fire marshal.
You're gonna
Put-
paint
we-
the color?
We can strip it, we can put fire decals on it, but it'll have a brand-new motor in it.
Because you know how fussy they are about riding in
Yeah.
police cars. All right, what's next?
Did we,
Make a motion.
Are we gonna, I guess,
we
where I'm at right now is, I was wondering if we should approve the purchase of a vehicle for the fire department, or do you wanna wait?
They're just gonna give them
yeah, is it this car we're talking about right now? Doesn't
yeah,
cost
they're just
anything
gonna
then?
give them, instead of something that's coming from DPW, they're gonna give them a hand-me-down from the police department.
But we're still gonna be one vehicle short, I believe.
Right, well, we got it,
I thought that was
yeah.
that was the third one.
We're
Still
gonna have to
keeping
get a
the snow
vehicle for
truck.
the fire marshal.
The-
You really should.
no, but that's what that car is, right? And the current one is still good for a little while, right? That's what we were saying.
We have three column trucks at the fire department. One has the 113 that the recommendation is replace. One is the 2006 or 2007 with the sign as a metal plate as a floorboard, and then the third one is used by the battalion chiefs. So what we are going to do is, from what I'm hearing from council, is we will do the enterprise plan for the fire chief's car. We're going to replace the pickup truck with the signboard and the floor with the Charger with the new engine, and the battalion chief's car isn't up for replacement for a year or two.
What we doing with the
I'm
snow
fine
plowing
with that,
car?
that's fine, we'll do the enterprise for the
Plowing,
fire
we'll be
chief.
doing that.
And then the snowplow is just
The
good,
snowplow.
right? We're saying.
Right,
it's fine.
yeah, only for the fire chief, we're only at least one vehicle right now for fire, we'll approve that.
And we're just keeping the snowplow, right? is what
Right.
we're
Right,
saying.
yeah,
We just
I
said
mean, if
we
they wanna,
have- yeah.
if they wanna take one from DPW, I mean, that's.
And one thing about the fire chief's vehicle, that is subject to the maintenance plan, so we're capped at $300 a year for maintenance costs on that. And that'll be a 5-year lease.
Perfect.
On the Charger?
On the fire chief's vehicle.
There he is.
So move then, or?
Yeah, support.
Okay, DeMonico, Lucido, Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Lucido,
Yes.
Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
That's all I had for the budget.
Anything else on the budget you want?
I don't believe I have anything else to.
Cardy?
It's just putting the numbers in and seeing where we're at.
Well, I had some higher level things. It seemed like some of the revenue numbers were higher than it seemed like they should be. I mean, I know Mr. Erie's here now. I wouldn't mind if we break for that, but maybe and I noticed that all the parks money's gone.
Oh, the parks money will be put back in because it's not being spent this year, and I've asked Mr. Marucci to contact the architect to have put into the bid spec that the work is to be done by August 31st, and also to have an alternate if it can't be done by August 31st, so council can see what the numbers are.
I also am interested in allocating, more money than even that into the parks if they wanna do a project.
What about the money that was in the CIP this year? That was like, what, 219 or
Which
2?
is that was allocated to spend on the Memorial Park building.
Right.
And then, but there's other things that I know would like to see some other improvements made to the park besides that, because that's an improvement that we've been talking about making for 3 fiscal years, and we haven't done any other major improvements in the
So we're all in a good mood right now. Why don't you come up with a figure?
We had 390 between the 2 years. I don't know how much of it covers these projects we've already
Well,
approved.
the three, we had 212 left, out of the 390, because we did Spindler Park.
Yeah, and that covered all of the, so you're saying a little more than,
Right now, he has 30,000 or 28,000, and that's only for,
Roxana.
So there's nothing on top of Memorial Building.
But there
right,
will
that's
be.
why I was saying it was all gone, yeah.
It's in this year's budget, so I'm just going to move it from this year's to next
But
year's.
it's already allocated for Memorial Park Building and for Roxana, so
Right,
if
so
we
it's
wanted to do a
nothing.
new project
Yeah.
this year, we would have nothing.
Right, no, yeah, I understand
You know what I'm
what you're saying.
saying.
So do you want to come up with an amount?
So I would propose we should at least put 60,000 into parks every year. So if they want to start putting that money towards projects, or if we start applying for grants, we have money that we can use to put towards projects.
I would agree.
I thought even higher than that, because we had more than that already allocated.
Well,
Well,
we're all,
60 is just what we get from Rare. That's not taking any money out of our budget, because that's only
Yeah.
what we get from Rare.
Right, so I think at least this year we should push the, whatever we didn't spend, I don't know what the math is.
Well,
and-
the 212 and then the
Is that
28.
now?
And
Yeah.
then,
And then 60 each year going forward.
Wait,
Yeah,
what number did you, I'm sorry, did you say a number?
Yes, oh, I'm sorry.
60.
well,
I know
That's just Rare.
you were thinking more.
no, no, I was at least saying for this year, because we had budgeted, these past 2 years, it was, I have written 390,000 between the 2 years, and we didn't, last fiscal year, I don't think we spent like any of it.
I mean, I think that we should, but we could, I don't see why we can't take 50,000 out of our budget plus the 60 from Rare and put it into the parks every year.
Well, I think, Suzanne, you mentioned that the antenna leases were initially meant for like parks improvements
Well,
or?
that's what I was suggesting, that we take the money from those to put them into parks.
So what if we propose putting the 60,000 from Rare plus any money we receive from antenna leases into parks?
Yes, and I,
What's that roughly?
That-
Just curious if you have any idea.
That would, those together would be 193.
oh, that's good.
Oh, okay.
All right, I like that idea.
The only thing I'm cautioning council is that the antenna money has been used as revenue in terms of balancing the general fund budget, and I'm looking to see what that number is.
Why? You didn't have any direction to do that?
That's what the, that money, the antenna lease is $133,000 a year. That's what was in the proposed budget.
So that's why we want to put it in parks.
Right.
So that is $133,000 added structural deficit, added to the structural deficit.
Right.
Right, I mean, we
That's-
had it in the budget anyway
Right.
last year, so.
Because we
Essentially.
didn't tell you to put it in that. I mean, we wanted that, because they're putting the antenna in the parks, we wanted that money to go into the parks.
Now, some of that lease money is not all from Parkland. We have a cell tower behind the police department. Do you just want to restrict whatever we get?
Power behind the police department?
No, just take the money for the antenna that's in the parks.
In the parks, okay.
And then also, Mr. Sabota, we need trees. And
We-
somehow, the words got back to me that you said that the council doesn't like trees.
Nope. I just said we don't have any money in the budget for trees.
Well, I
Is
mean,
that what that
that's
one
something
email
that
was?
we can put Mr. Marucci on. He's good at getting grants for trees.
Yeah, let's
No,
get
but
relief
he was told
come
not
out
to
again.
apply for a grant, and I don't think Mr. Sabota knows that on a cold, windy day, almost everybody at council was over there. Council has been out there planting trees because we believe really strongly in trees, so we need that money, we need the grant, but we
So-
need trees in our city.
How much,
Marty, was there anything else?
how much does council want for tree planting?
Well,
Why don't, I think, that- okay, right now,
I'll write
we're
up
already putting, $100,000 plus $60,000 into parks. I think that maybe that's something that the Parks Commission can propose.
correct.
If we can
Because,
any of that
and they can use, because we're also transferring over the money from last year, obviously.
Yeah,
And I think they
Roxanne.
can use the money that's in there to a certain amount for matching grant,
Right.
because we can get trees.
So I think that's something that I think when it comes to trees would be good for parks to discuss.
We talked
we-
about that at Roxanne.
We just lost out big time because we could have bought trees for like $4 to $5 from the Macomb Conservative District. So, but we can still buy trees at the end of the summer, and we like to plant in the fall anyway. So you can buy those trees down at Eastern Market. They're pretty reasonable and they're very durable. So-
Cardi, was there anything else besides parks?
Since we're talking about trees, remember the plant, it was someone that did the, it was something where they built, certain places in the, on the grass to help with water. What was that, you know what I'm saying?
That's something
Oh,
that
the
the
Clinton
Parks
River
Commission
watershed?
has.
Yeah.
Thing that we have on the wall over there,
Discuss that.
or on the floor? The, we had the study done and they made a recommendation for water, storage. That's on the floor over there on one of those,
I think that was like
charts.
$4,000 or something like that, and we match it or something.
We have done a number of studies. Macomb County hired people to come down and do our tree survey, and that was only 2 years. I saw that in the budget. I don't think it's necessary. I think Joe has the records of it from the Macomb Conservative District. I think what you're talking about is rain gardens.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And,
talking about.
Rain gardens.
Rain gardens is something that parks, because
In-
it would be mainly in parks,
Okay.
has been discussing also.
We do
Okay.
have rain gardens already in place in 2 of the different parks, and right now they're flooded. Because we took the drainage from the baseball diamond over to the rain garden, and we have planted all kinds of varieties in there, and sometimes they work and sometimes they
Does
don't.
Parks know about that Clinton River watershed presentation?
I
It's in one of
believe
our
that,
packets.
Mr. Marucci has brought that.
Okay.
And what he'd like to do is to put that over at Memorial Park, just like they diagrammed, and I think that's a really good project.
Oh, right by the
But we
park.
can get grants for that.
Okay. I think I'll email my other questions, I guess. I was curious about like the $3.3 million, I think, deficit we had, and the,
How about our
the
master
5-year
plan?
plan.
Because we can't do
stuff.
anything without that master plan. Are you still working on that? or
My
what?
understanding is the final document will finally be presented to the Planning Commission. Actually, it doesn't even go to the Planning Commission. We just need the final document, but it's coming to City Hall tomorrow.
So are
did
you
it
gonna
take 3
check it and
months?
make sure that all of our parks are enumerated in it?
I will ensure that whatever was in the draft will be is in the final document, yes.
You know, that
And then the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, RARE is, I don't know if they put the RFP out or not, but I know Mr. Marucci is working on that.
Yes, yes.
And our Parks Commission will be heavily involved as well. So that's
Yeah,
moving.
We're hoping to have like our own section in there.
But that was the problem with the master plan, is even the map did not have that there was gonna be attention paid to the parks. They have to kind of coordinate. If you want grant money, it's gotta match. All right, we have a high-power attorney out there, and
Council needs to make a motion.
really, we'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Support.
Who made it?
Oh, sorry. I motioned to go into closed session. I thought Suzanne did again.
Support.
So used to her making motion stuff.
I'm not sure too.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Owens.
Yes.
Pixley.
Yes.
DeMonico.
Yes.
Kleinfeld.
Yes.
And I should note that I didn't ask for a hearing in the public, the second hearing in the public, because there is no one here. And I didn't ask for mayor and council reports, so.
I think we're all right.
Yeah.
We're
You
okay.
did.
None of
So
us
we'll
would
go,
have, we wouldn't have missed that.
I'll be
We'll
back
go-
tomorrow. So
we'll
I can
go
say
into-
about everything I want. Send me a list. I'll say all your stuff.
I'll email you guys what I want to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Just email me.
I'll email it to you.
Planning commission will be like, why is